I'd like to look at Madiba as a human being, not necessarily as a head of state or as other people would call him an icon, but as a human being. He was a very caring person. It was not only caring to me, to our children and grandchildren, but part of how he impacted in whoever has come across to engage with him is the detail, but also the depth of his connection with other human people, human beings. Madiba wouldn't greet you without dedicating those seconds. He is shaking hands with you and say, "I'm pleased to meet you." He makes you feel the most important person in the world at that moment. One of the things I miss so much is those mornings, even before we were staying together. The first voice I would hear, it was his calling, say, "Good morning. How did you sleep? Are you okay?" And then he can start with other conversation. The last voice I would hear before I go to sleep, it would be his voice. "Hello, Mom. How was your day? Are you happy with what you have done?" Wherever I would be in the world, it didn't matter whether I'm in Maputo, I'm in London, I'm in New York, I'm in Japan. Those days I was doing a lot of work with United Nations and I was traveling. Sometimes he would call while I'm still in meetings. He will make sure, "At what time do you think you will finish your meeting?" So that he'll be sure that he is the last person to talk to me. I mean, really. I met Madiba in the best of times in his life. He was about to step down as head of state. We remember we married in 1998 when he turned 80. That is also something which, looking back, I think it was extraordinary, but it was crazy. How do you explain that at the age of 80, someone gets married? I was 53. And but it was one of those things, there was no age between the two of us. This is something I have learned. When people love each other, age doesn't count. His life was dedicated to duties to others. And when I say I came at the right time, it's because he was retiring from official duties. He had the opportunity for the first time at that age to choose what he wanted to do and to choose with whom he wanted to be, including his friends. Because when you are in the office, you see the people which your calendar says you have to see, even people perhaps you don't feel like you should, but you have to. But once he was retiring, his diary was determined by who he wanted to meet, what he wanted to do. He still traveled a lot, but it was his choice. He still crossed this country, taking business to build schools, to build clinics, but it was his choice. And he took a lot of joy in that. It is a time also which helped him to reconnect with the rural areas. That's why education and health for him, it was focused in the most remote areas. It took him back again to his childhood. And when he would say, I'm a country boy, he really meant it. He was just, you could see how he would blossom when he connected with those people who were taking him back to his childhood. But it was also, again, I insist, caring. He knew that there were some areas in this country where freedom had not yet a tangible things to say this has come because of freedom. In his work with children, he said, no, this year, instead of having the children's fund fanfare, which every year they would celebrate, he said, I want to spend my birthday celebration with children, but children with disability. And we had in the yard, at that time it was not even at the children's fund, it was in our yard, in Houghton, in our garden. I can't remember the number, but they came, some with parents, others with caregivers, but for him it was important to pay attention to children with disability. How many times Madiba had children who, for any reason, they had very strange illness. He would make sure that his office will organize. If he can't visit, that child will come to his office. To talk of legacy, darling, many people will tell you, oh, because of the freedom he gave. It is true, but what it means to touch 100, 1,000 human lives directly, that is the lesson of a leader which I have really met in Nelson Mandela. Combining the big issues we all know, but knowing that touching the life of one person, of one family, it's equally important. We all have opportunities to touch people's lives. I wouldn't say do it this way, because each one of us in our environment, we are confronted with different situations. But I think the important thing is really to be mindful and also to be intentional. Not only be mindful, but to be intentional, to reach out to others, particularly those who are in need. And I don't think we're doing enough of this. For instance, one thing which makes me feel really very small, and I haven't found yet the way of how to deal with, is when I open these newspapers and I see the number of women who are being killed by their partners. Recently, I think it's 2 days ago, I opened the Sowetan and I'm told somewhere in Ikuruleni, 1,000 girls fell pregnant in 1 year in a small geographical space. You can't, grade 5, yeah. You can't, and I'm telling you this, I know these are the kind of lessons I learned. I still do not know what to do. I'm not going there before I know what I feel it can be my contribution. But there's something which we have to do about it. And you don't read these messages, these informations, and you carry on with your life as nothing is happening. So I think that bringing to your heart, bringing to your heart and to care with people you perhaps have not met yet, but you know you have to do something. At least we have to prevent things of continuing to happen the way they do. I think that's the kind of caring, which many times I don't think we are doing well. We get used to human suffering, and it's just one thing more, and we carry on. So our society is crying for that kind of attitude in which you and I do not become indifferent to the suffering of another human being.